Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in for this evening's episode of Holy Cross Live. We're going to do things a little differently this evening. We're going to have an information session on the financial aid process at Holy Cross College. We're going to talk about some things that you might be seeing a few weeks or months down the road if you advance in the admissions process with us with regards to your financial aid package and then ultimately your student account at Holy Cross College. It is never too early to start learning about all of the requirements and the timelines for figuring out how it is that you and your family will afford an education like Holy Cross College. So my name is Jordan Shank, and my job here tonight as Director of Enrollment is to introduce you to some terminology that you will hear about financial aid as you go through the process, speak to you specifically about some scholarship and financial aid options at Holy Cross College, and to, of course, just let you know that we won't cover everything this evening, that you're going to have probably questions once you receive a financial aid notification from Holy Cross College. So this is also an invitation to do not be a stranger, to reach out to us, to myself and my colleagues in the Office of Financial Aid and the Office of Student Accounts so that you understand what it is that we have offered to you in terms of financial aid and all of the other options that might be available to you as well. Since tonight's going to be a presentation based, I have prepared some slides. I'm going to go ahead and display those and turn off my camera, and we'll continue through. If we may reach the entire hour, but if not, we'll get done early and see if there are some opportunity for Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my camera and bring up the slides, and we'll jump right in. Again, thank you for being here. And once again, if you had heard the announcement just before we began, there is a link to these slides on the access page where you clicked connect to join our presentation this evening. Give me one moment and we will have these slides ready for you. Excellent. Well, we're going to jump right in. And the first thing we want to talk about is how you are going to be considered for financial aid options at Holy Cross College. And it does all begin with what is called the free application for federal student aid, or what you might know as the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A. And you're going to see the website there. I do want you to take note that the very first word of FAFSA is free. If you type college application, financial aid applications, or help with financial aid applications, there are some websites out there that are a little tricky that might assist you in submitting or completing a FAFSA, but they might charge you a fee. You should never pay to complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. So do make sure that you are using that government website. Each student who is going to complete the FAFSA will have his or her own FSA ID and password. Also, at least one parent will need an FSA ID and password to access the FAFSA. And this also serves as a way that you can electronically sign the FAFSA. A piece of advice for our high school students: you do need an email address to sign up for an FSA ID and password. Use a personal email address that you will have access to for many years down the road. So that means do not use a school-issued email address that you might lose access to after you graduate. So think of like a Gmail address, one that you will always have access to. When you have submitted the FAFSA, you will receive access to what is called the Student Aid Report, which is a summary of all of the things that you have submitted on the FAFSA, but also you're going to see on that Student Aid Report what is called an Expected Family Contribution, or EFC for short. That EFC is what the federal government will use, what a state will use, and what we at Holy Cross College will use to determine your eligibility for need-based assistance. If you receive that SAR, student aid report, and there is no expected family contribution on there, it means that even though you submitted the FAFSA, you did not complete something to their satisfaction. So something was missing, maybe a signature or some information about your household where it could not calculate an EFC. Here at Holy Cross College, we cannot issue you a financial aid package without that expected family contribution. So review that student aid report that you will receive, look for any errors or mistakes, fix those right away, and do make sure that there is an expected family contribution or an EFC there on that report. So the FAFSA is going to determine your eligibility for need-based aid, both for federal, Indiana, for those of us who live in Indiana and will be going to school in Indiana. But of course, if you are applying to other schools within your home state, and if it's not Indiana, they might have state aid, and they're going to use the FAFSA to determine your eligibility. And then finally, institutional assistance. So you can see on this list here, something called a Holy Cross Assistance Grant. We will go over a list of all types of aid that you may see on your financial aid notification, but students who demonstrate the most need will receive and be eligible for Holy Cross assistance, which is need-based assistance, a gift from Holy Cross College that does not have to be paid back. So it's not from the federal government, it's not from the state of Indiana, it's from Holy Cross College to help make Holy Cross affordable, especially for students who come from lower income resources. But you do see on there eligibility for this subsidized loan is determined with the FAFSA, the Federal Pell Grant, and then for those of you who are Indiana residents, it could be an Indiana Freedom of Choice Grant, otherwise also known as 21st Century Scholars. Sometimes we use those terms interchangeably because a student who can only qualify for one, and often the maximum amount is going to be the same for both of those programs, but there is, again, grant money available to Indiana residents who have a certain eligibility based on that FAFSA. I do also want to make you aware that there are non-need-based federal assistance resources that you could become eligible for by submitting the FAFSA. So I have some families talk to me and say, do you know what, we don't know if we qualify for any need-based aid. We're not going to qualify for the Pell Grant. We're already aware of that. But I also want to tell those families, submit the FAFSA and you have some other options and tools in your toolbox that are not dependent upon your EFC. That includes the unsubsidized student loan and also the Federal Direct Parent Plus loan. We're going to talk about these different types of loans and the Parent Plus loan in a few slides. A recent change, maybe, well, recent being maybe three or so years now, the FAFSA uses what we call prior year's tax information. What that means is that if you are a current high school senior and you are applying for college to begin in 2021, you're going to fill out the 2021 and 2022 FAFSA. It covers the entire academic year. So typically that's fall semester in 2021, spring semester in 2022. That application is actually going to use 2 years prior tax information. So that would be 2019 tax information. So you are not going to need to wait for 2020 tax information to be completed before you submit this FAFSA. And you certainly do not have to wait for 2021 tax information to be completed to fill out the FAFSA for your first year at Holy Cross College or whichever institution it is that you may attend. Every FAFSA must be electronically signed by the student and at least one parent. And again, that parent's going to have his or her own FSA ID and password. To be eligible for federal and for most states as well, for those need-based aid and any aid, even the non-need-based aid, male applicants must be registered with Selective Services by or on their 18th birthday. Many of our students might enter age 17, and then they'll complete this as soon as their 18th birthday. But I do believe that the FAFSA still has the option where if you're not yet 18 or if you're just turning 18, that upon your 18th birthday, it will automatically register you for the selective services. So do know that there are times where we put aid on hold because a male has not been registered with the selective services. It's easy to rectify that, but do know that that is a requirement for our male applicants. For any student who is admitted to Holy Cross College, and then we have a FAFSA on file with an EFC, or that expected family contribution, we then are issuing what is called a financial aid notification. The financial aid notification, we call it FAN, F-A-N just for short, is going to be a booklet in the mail with information about all of the sources of aid for which you qualify, information about loans, next steps you have to take, and also an estimation of your personal obligation, or what we call net price. For new students entering Holy Cross College, we are going to send the first financial aid notification via postal mail. We're also going to send PDF copies via email, and so those emails will come from financial aid at hcc-nd.edu. Again, it's going to list out your sources of aid. It's going to include a personal planner where we show you an estimation of costs and then what your out-of-pocket price might be. And then we will notify you if you've been selected for something called verification. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few more slides. If for any reason your financial aid notification is updated after an initial one has been issued, we will not mail a new financial aid notification. We will only send updates via email. Let's look at a few of those financial resources or funding sources that you might find on a financial aid notification at Holy Cross College. First of all, a merit scholarship. Every applicant to Holy Cross College, and there are some exceptions, but that mostly every applicant to Holy Cross College will be considered for and actually will receive a merit scholarship. There are no additional applications outside of your admissions application to be considered for a merit scholarship. So if you apply to Holy Cross College using the common application, when you receive your admissions notification from Holy Cross College, we will alert you at that time if you've been awarded a merit scholarship and the funding amount for that merit scholarship. A select number of students will be nominated for what are called signature scholarships. These are our most prestigious, our largest merit scholarships at Holy Cross College. We are recognizing top academic performance and then also recognizing students who have a great sense of service to school, community, church, and our hope is that by recognizing your great talents and skills and contributions, that you're going to share those and make our campus and our classroom a better place. The signature scholarships are more selective. Again, in your admissions notification, we will let you know if you've been nominated for one and what next steps you must take to receive that scholarship. Currently, merit scholarships are valued at up to $12,000 per year, renewable all 4 years if students meet their minimum requirements. Signature scholarships are currently valued at up to $20,000 per year, renewable all 4 years if you meet the minimum conditions. A select number of students may qualify for and receive a named scholarship. For example, we have some scholarships that are specific for families who have immediate relatives who have served or are currently serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. We have some scholarships for students who have received the Eagle Scout Award. We have some very particular awards. We call them our named scholarships because generous donors have given them to Holy Cross College and they are named in their honor. And typically they have a certain criteria that the student will need to meet to receive that award. We have some of those available for our students. Again, there you see the Holy Cross Assistance Grant, that is need-based aid based upon your FAFSA. Merit scholarships, signature scholarships, we do not use the FAFSA to determine the amount that you would receive for those awards. But when we get into these need-based aid sources, we do. Holy Cross Assistance Grant would be included in that. The Federal Pell Grant would be included in that. And also those Indiana grants, the Indiana Freedom of Choice and the 21st Century Scholars. Also, if you are eligible for any of the federal direct loan programs, whether that is subsidized and unsubsidized or just the unsubsidized, that will be listed there on your financial aid notification. The Parent Plus loan won't be listed initially, but it could end up on a future iteration of your financial aid notification if a parent applies and is accepted for a Parent Plus loan. I'll talk about those in a few slides. And then finally, we do alert students of the opportunity for campus employment and federal work study if they do in fact are found to be eligible for federal work study. The personal planner will be included with every financial aid notification. Again, this is a way for you to just visually see what your net price might be at Holy Cross College. And when we talk about your out-of-pocket expenses, we talk about your direct costs, but we also talk about making plans for indirect costs as well. So you're going to see schools use the term cost of attendance, and that is an estimation of what 1 year's worth of expenses of being a student at that school may be. And a cost of attendance is made up of direct costs and indirect costs. A direct cost is going to be anything that is billed to you directly. At Holy Cross College, that can be tuition and fees. Also for those who live on campus, that could be the room and meals charge as well. Those are direct costs. Every student is receiving those on a student bill. We also want to make sure families are planning for those indirect costs. We estimate those to be for books, supplies for school and the dorm, personal expenses, food on the weekends, if you're eating out with friends, travel back and forth to campus. Those are indirect costs. So you should be thinking about how those will be funded in addition to what you will be billed. The numbers that you see here are the tuition and other fees associated with the 2020 academic year. So that's the current year that we are in. When you receive your financial aid notification, you will see the updated tuition prices for your first year at Holy Cross College. This is also maybe a good time to mention that there are some students who are only charged tuition and fees because they live at home and commute to Holy Cross College. We do have an on-campus residency requirement. We require our freshmen or our first-year students and our sophomores to live on campus. However, we do grant exemptions for students who live within a certain radius of campus and will be living with a parent or a family member and will commute back and forth. We love when students live on campus. We want them to be a part of our on-campus culture and that community, but we do understand for some families, it is more cost-effective to live at home and commute. For those students, maybe they purchase just a meal plan for commuters so that they can still experience that community within our dining hall. But for those who do live on campus, whether you choose not to apply for that exemption or because you have to, because our first year and sophomore students do live on campus, do know that when we calculate financial assistance, we take into account all of the direct costs, including room and meals. There are some schools that will only issue financial aid considering tuition. We issue financial aid considering all of your direct costs. That also means for those students who are eligible for that on-campus exemption, meaning you live at home and commute to Holy Cross College, your financial aid package might look different if you live on campus or you live on home or live at home. So you might want to talk to us. What is the difference between living on campus and living at home? What aid is available if I want to live on campus? What is my aid if I do live at home? Now, again, talking about that personal planner. When we talk about personal planner, we do want to give you an idea of your estimated net price. Net price is what you might expect to pay out of pocket. So we're going to only list direct costs on there because remember, we're not billing you for those indirect costs. So we're actually going to do this calculation for you. We're going to list your direct costs. We're going to subtract your gift aid, which is free money from either Holy Cross College and merit or need-based aid, federal grants and state grants. We're also going to assume that you will accept your borrowed assistance. Borrowed assistance would be those federal direct student loans. The maximum loan amount for a first-year student, we're going to see this on the next slide, that could be up to $5,500 in a mix of unsub and subsidized loan, or just unsubsidized loan. Talk about the difference between those two. So we're going to take your direct costs minus your aid, and we're going to give you an estimated net price for the year. Of course, divide that by 2, your estimated net price for fall semester and your estimated fall net price for spring semester as well. Here's that chart that's going to show you what federal direct student loan eligibility you may have year after year. First of all, very important for you to understand the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan. You'll often find people say that one is the good loan, but definitely there is one that is better than the other. If you qualify for a certain level of need, and this is again based upon your expected family contribution, you will qualify for a subsidized loan, meaning that while you are enrolled as a student, the federal government will subsidize any interest that may have accrued during that time. Means simply that if you have $2,000 in a subsidized loan as a freshman or first-year student, that's going to be $2,000 in a loan upon graduation. An unsubsidized loan, every student who submits the FAFSA will be then eligible for the unsubsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan simply means that it will accrue interest while you are enrolled as a student. Most students will see a mix between subsidized and unsubsidized. For students who do not have need-based demonstrated based on the EFC, the federal government will only offer the unsubsidized loan. So in that left column, you can see the maximum limit, $5,500, $6,500, $7,500 for year 3 and 4. That's a typical dependent student, meaning that your parents claim you as a dependent for tax purposes. That $5,500 could be, again, a mix of subsidized and unsubsidized if you qualify for the need-based subsidized loan. You do see in the right-hand column the values for independent students. So these are students who are beyond a certain age or are independent of parents, not claimed as tax dependents for tax purposes. And you can see that it's an increase of $4,000. That's an additional $4,000 in unsubsidized loans. You'll want to remember these numbers when we are talking about the Parent Plus loan. There are some families, for a number of reasons, who are denied an application. Well, excuse me, their application for a Parent Plus loan is denied. Typically, when that happens, if the family does not appeal that application, the student could qualify then for the independent levels of unsubsidized loan. So yes, there are dependent students who are receiving the independent level of those unsubsidized loans because they have been denied the opportunity. The application for a Parent Plus loan has been denied. Keep in mind, you are in control of your debt. We are going to show you your maximum eligibility for both a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan. And you are in control as to whether or not you take on that debt. We often have conversations with students who want to reduce their debt. And so we are going to, of course, first of all, talk about what it is that they want to take out and, of course, maximize their subsidized loans before we would take out any unsubsidized loan and add it to their financial aid package. So you might be offered $5,500 in a mix of subsidized and unsubsidized. You can come back and say, I only want the subsidized loan. I don't want $5,500 in debt my first year. We can make that change. So keep in mind, we're going to offer you the maximum. You have the option to deny your loans entirely or reduce those amounts. Deferment, federal direct student loans, the payments, so you paying back your loans, will be deferred until 6 months after you are no longer enrolled as a first-time student. For most students that we work with at Holy Cross College, that means you begin making your first payments 6 months after graduation. Every financial aid notification will have campus employment or federal work study listed as an opportunity for you to earn self-earned funds while you are enrolled as a student. This is not money that is guaranteed. Working on campus is not required. It's simply a representation of an opportunity to earn money while you are a student to help maybe pay for books and supplies, or perhaps to save up for your bill for the upcoming semester. Do keep in mind then that any amount of campus employment or work study that you see on your financial aid notification, that's not going to be deducted from your bill. Any work that you perform on our campus or even across the tri-campus, any funds are going to be deposited directly into your bank account. So it's direct deposit. It's money that you earn that you decide how you use. But we do remind students, we show them how they can help maybe earn some money through self-work for some of those indirect costs. I did mention that some students are selected for something that's called verification. If you're selected for verification, it does not mean that you've done something wrong. It is often a random process, but also if there's just something that raises some flags, the federal government might flag your FAFSA for verification. Not every student is chosen for verification. Some students are chosen for verification 1 year, but not again for another year. But if you are chosen for verification, we will let you know in your financial aid notification and give you the steps for you to complete verification. Typically, it does require that you complete a worksheet, which simply helps us to verify the number of family members living in your home. And also if any of your siblings are also going to be enrolled in college for undergraduate studies at the same time you will be enrolled for undergraduate studies. Why that question is asked. It is a common mistake, an unfortunate mistake, when filling out the FAFSA. There is a question about the number of siblings, so dependents in your household who will be enrolled in college the upcoming year. Often the student who is in high school forgets to count himself or herself in that number. Keep in mind that an expected family contribution is assigned to a family, and it is then divided divided among students in your family who are going to college at the undergraduate level, which means that the FAFSA knows that you have 3 children in college. It's going to use that in part of its algorithm to determine your EFC. As I understand the algorithm, if you have 3 children in 3 dependents or 3 siblings, or 2 siblings if you're applying, in college, your EFC will be lower than if there's only 1 enrolled in college, because you would be dividing that pie among more individuals. So that verification process just helps us to make sure that we are we have all of that family information correct on the FAFSA. We also do verify tax information for the parents and also the student if taxes were filed. We will show you how you can submit verified tax information either by updating your FAFSA or by providing us with some transcripts from the IRS. One easy way to possibly avoid being selected for verification is to use what is called the IRS data retrieval tool. So when you are submitting the FAFSA, when you get to the income section, if you qualify for the tool, it will ask you if you would like to use the tool, which connects the data system from the IRS to the data system in the FAFSA, and it will pull over all of the information. It will actually make it easier to complete the FAFSA, and anything that's pulled over through the IRS data retrieval tool is considered verified already. Students who use that tool are less likely to be selected for verification, or if they're selected for verification, they only have to do that worksheet and not update tax information at all. Again, if you're selected for this, we'll help you complete these steps. We'll include this URL and other directions in your financial aid notification. Other things that you might have to do after submitting the FAFSA and reviewing your financial aid notification. We do ask that you notify us of any outside or private scholarships that you receive, because they will be posted to your financial aid notification. In some select cases, we might have to adjust other sources of funding because of these outside and private scholarships. That typically happens for students who might be receiving a lot of assistance from Holy Cross College, because we can't over award a student. We can't have your financial, we are legally prohibited from giving you a financial aid notification or package that is greater than the cost of attendance. But also some awards, whether they're from Holy Cross, maybe the state of Indiana, perhaps one of these outside or private scholarships, can only be used maybe for a certain type of cost. Only tuition, only books, only room and meals. And so we can't have more of those awards that might add up to more than what that cost would be. So we just ask you to notify us so that we can post them to your notification. And then it helps you, of course, to then calculate what change there may be in your net price. Also, if you will be accepting your federal direct student loans, there are 2 steps that you must complete on the student aid website. 1, the Master Promissory Note, and 2, entrance counseling. These are both ways that you legally accept the responsibility of taking out a student loan, but also that entrance counseling is going to help you understand your responsibility as a loan borrower, how you manage your loans, the types of loans you might be seeing, and then ultimately how you're going to manage repayment after you are no longer enrolled at Holy Cross. So both of these steps must be completed. After you, the student, complete both of these steps, the Department of Education will inform us at Holy Cross College so that we can accept those loan funds on your behalf and post them to your student account. We don't want the following scenario to happen. It does happen to a select number of students each year. We will work through this situation, but this happens to some students. They overlook or ignore, I hope it's just accidentally overlooking, our requests to complete the FAFSA, our requests to complete verification, and also our requests and reminders to complete the Master Promissory Note and entrance counseling. If we get close to the deadline for tuition payments and you haven't completed those tasks, we actually need to put those sources of aid on hold, which means that you might then suddenly be responsible for a higher bill because you haven't completed those steps. We can help you then complete those steps so that that aid is disbursed and placed on your bill. But that is often a shock for some families to see maybe us putting the loan and the Pell Grant and maybe other need-based aid on hold. Typically, if that happens, it's because there's a step here, whether it's verification or loan steps that you have to complete. I do want to make a note. I know I've already gone past the verification page. In some instances, after completing verification, an EFC or expected family contribution could change. That's only going to happen if the information that we verify using your tax information in this worksheet is different than what was on the FAFSA itself. For some students, it actually works to their benefit. The EFC might decrease, so it might increase your eligibility for a Pell Grant or for other need-based aid from Holy Cross College. What we don't want, and can happen sometimes, is verification increases your EFC, which means by mistake, something was misrepresented on the FAFSA. So that's why we do stress to families that your financial aid notification is an estimate if you are selected for verification. But you could complete the verification process right away, and then we're going to confirm with you if there is a change. For most students who complete verification, there is no change. Again, it's just verifying what was already correctly put on the FAFSA itself. Something to think about after the FAFSA, and this could be maybe before you even enroll at Holy Cross College. This could be mid-semester during your first year at Holy Cross College. It could be during your second year, third year, fourth year at Holy Cross College. And we have a process that we call change in circumstances. And we understand, as does the Department of Education, that often what is reported on a FAFSA is not a current reflection of your family's financial situation. Or we also understand that your family's situation could change during the academic year, which could require a change in your FAFSA. Some families might have seen, especially recently due to the pandemic, an extended loss of employment. Also, we do change in circumstances for families who go through divorce or separation or loss of other sources of income, large medical or dental bills that are not covered by insurance, perhaps even the unfortunate death of a family member who contributed to your income. So if there is a change in a circumstance that you think is not reflected in the tax information that you use to submit the FAFSA, so keep in mind, a lot happened here in 2020, and you're using 2019 tax information, we can go through this change in circumstances process, and it allows us to use some professional judgment as allotted by the Department of Education to see if we would administratively change the FAFSA to update maybe some income and family information. The goal of a change in circumstances request is that ultimately the expected family contribution is adjusted, and perhaps then you qualify for a Pell Grant or an Indiana grant or maybe additional Holy Cross assistance. I do want to acknowledge that this process could be, it could take some time collecting all of the required documentation, but for families who do receive a lower EFC, it's definitely worth that time. But just because someone submits these forms, it is not a guarantee that there will be additional aid awarded, but this helps us to better understand your situation. Again, hopefully we would be able to administratively and through legal ways adjust your expected family contribution. Keep that in mind, both now and of course, if there are these major changes that might occur while you are enrolled as a student. Let's look at some timeline. First of all, you're going to see that the FAFSA is already open for the next year. So if you are currently perhaps maybe a senior in high school looking to begin college fall 2021, your FAFSA became available on October 1st of this year. So the FAFSA opens for that next school year. Keep in mind that when you log in, you're going to see two FAFSAs. So make sure you choose, of course, the one for 2021, 2022. For students who apply early to Holy Cross College, perhaps you've met our early exit deadline or you apply within the next few weeks. If we receive your FAFSA here, or perhaps we already have it, we are releasing and begin releasing financial aid notifications near the end of December. And then when we return in January, we will be doing so on a rolling basis. So you could, if you've already submitted your application, your common application, or if you do so soon, and you have already submitted your FAFSA, or you do so soon, you could have an admissions decision before Thanksgiving and a financial aid notification before Christmas for students who act early on both your application, the common application, and the FAFSA. But then after January, in and after January, we release on a rolling basis after a student has been admitted to Holy Cross College. We have set February 15th as our priority FAFSA deadline. Why we've done so? That allows us enough time to process your FAFSA well in advance of that May 1 confirmation deadline. So we want to make sure that you have your financial aid notification and your personal planner in front of you with as much time as possible before May 1, 2021. Again, a reminder, if you're admitted to Holy Cross College, we give May 1 as the priority enrollment confirmation deadline, meaning that is when we are asking students to let us know if they will or will not be enrolling at Holy Cross College. If you are from Indiana and you are watching this evening, do pay attention to Indiana's own FAFSA deadline. Historically, traditionally, that's April 15th. This year, due to the pandemic, it was moved a few days. I do believe, I haven't heard otherwise, that it will be April 15th once again. But that might be something you want to keep an eye out for if you're filling out the FAFSA in the spring. If you're filling out the FAFSA, though, now, early in November, December, you've met that deadline. Why is it important if you're an Indiana resident to meet that deadline? Let's say you qualify for the Freedom of Choice grant, but you miss the Indiana deadline. They simply won't give you that funding. And this year, I do believe that maximum award was $9,200 if you had qualified for the maximum freedom of choice. But if you had missed that FAFSA deadline, unfortunately, Indiana is not flexible with their own FAFSA deadline. So we do make sure, hey, if you're meeting that February 15th deadline, you've done so well in advance of Indiana's own deadline. Special situations. So we talked a lot about how we might award and the type of aid that's going to be available for our traditional student, the majority of students at Holy Cross College. There are some special situations where the financial aid offers might be just a little different. And we want to talk to you about those options so that you're aware of maybe some special scholarship opportunities for you. If you are an Indiana resident and perhaps you qualify maybe for free or reduced lunch or vouchers or other forms of maybe some assistance, and it's likely that you would also qualify for near or maximum Indiana state aid. Holy Cross has an amazing program for Indiana students who qualify for almost or the maximum amount of Indiana state aid. We call it the Indiana Max program. These students at a bare minimum will be guaranteed that you will pay nothing, zero out of pocket for tuition and fees. That means students who live nearby and live at home, virtually no bill, maybe a bill for books. You're paying for your books. Great deal. Amazing opportunity for students to attend Holy Cross College. No money out of pocket. For those students who make that qualification and want to live or have to live on campus, we have additional aid for those students as well. And so these Indiana students, if you are an Indiana student, you think you might qualify for this program, reach out to me. Maybe we'll ask some questions. It also includes some great mentoring and opportunities to be a part of a community at Holy Cross with other students in a similar situation with you. It's a great program for those who are Indiana residents. We also have some tuition special opportunities for the children or dependents of Notre Dame employees who qualify for Notre Dame's tuition benefit program. We actually will increase or maximize eligibility to cover all of tuition and fees for those students. Again, if you have a parent who is an employee at Notre Dame, contact me. I'll ask you some questions and I might be able to tell you about some financial aid opportunities specific to your situation. We have some other awards for students who are maybe the sons and daughters of Notre Dame, St. Mary's College, or Holy Cross College graduates. So we have some what we call CSC legacy awards. Also, students who might have a parent employed at a CSC, meaning Congregation of Holy Cross, school, parish, or organization, or if you, a student yourself, attend a CSC high school. For these various categories, we do have a very special merit award edition that you may qualify for. Not every student who falls in those categories will receive that award. If you have maybe other scholarships like the Signature Scholarship, but if you're receiving our traditional merit awards, this extra award is fairly significant. And then finally, we do partner with the University of Notre Dame with students who participate in the ROTC program. So they're enrolled at Holy Cross College, participate in the ROTC program at Notre Dame. For those students who receive ROTC scholarships that cover the full cost of tuition, we will gift those students a scholarship that covers the full cost of room and meals. So if you're in any of these situations, or if you just want to talk about your own situation, I'm a great person that you can reach out to, and we can talk about maybe some special situations that you may qualify for. The next few slides, I'm going to go over a little bit quickly because we're getting quite a few months in advance of, or ahead of what we're thinking about now. There's going to be a handover from the Office of Financial Aid to the Office of Student Accounts, where you are ultimately going to settle your bill each semester. So student accounts are going to, that office, those staff members, oversee all billing and payments. If you qualify for a refund, meaning your sources of aid exceed your direct costs, they will issue those refunds. And they also manage monthly payment plans. This is a term that you're going to get used to if you are at Holy Cross College, something that we call a preliminary semester bill. And that is based upon the information we know about your housing and your status as either a full-time or a part-time student. It's an estimation of your charges for the upcoming semester, and it's going to then take into account all of your financial aid sources and give you an estimated bill. And it is that estimation, that bill, that you are going to settle before the upcoming deadline. We call it preliminary because we will once again review your file at the end of what we call the add drop program date. At the end of add drop, which is typically the first week of classes, students' schedules are set. You're not adding more classes, you're not taking away classes. Basically, your bill is then frozen at that time. There are some students who, after the preliminary semester bill is set, might change one course to another, and that course has a few course fees that weren't present on the preliminary semester bill. So we will let you know after the add drop period if you have any other additional costs that you must take care of. For most students, it is a course fee. They've registered for a laboratory after the preliminary semester bill was already issued. There might be a $20, $30, $40 course fee affiliated or associated with that course. Things to remember at Holy Cross College, things actually that you won't see on your student bill at Holy Cross. No orientation fees, no car registration fees, no fees for laundry, no tuition fees. If you take advantage of our relationship with Notre Dame and St. Mary's College here on the Tri-Campus, if you're enrolled in courses on those campuses, you do not pay additional tuition for them. You do not pay additional tuition for us to be enrolled in those courses. Some other things to consider, again, several months ahead of us now. If you accept your direct student loans, there is a small origination fee. So if you accept $5,500, a small percentage of that will be taken or not actually dispersed, because the Department of Education will keep that as an origination fee. So when you see on your bill your loans posted, it is just a little bit lower than what you had accepted as your principal. You might have courses and lab fees based upon the classes that you select. Some students might upgrade a meal plan. We have a standard meal plan and we have upgraded meal plans that allow students to have more meals on our campus or be able to access the dining halls of the University of Notre Dame. And then also, if you're living on campus, all students will be charged a housing damage deposit. But if you leave your dorm at the end of the year and there is no damage to your dorm room, you receive that $350 credited back to your account. Each year, the semester bills are due for fall semester on or before August 1st, for spring semester on or before January 1st. Often students and parents use a set of tools, various ways together and combined when settling the semester bill. A direct payment, that is a payment out of pocket, whether that's done online, you mail us a check, or you pay in person. You might register for a payment plan. You might consider the federal direct student loan, and again, a combination of those options. Quick note on the payment plan. I think more families and students would benefit from this option. Do know that it is available to you, but you act early. You must act often several months before that semester begins. For example, if you're registering for a fall semester payment plan, actually, I'm going to show you a chart here of our current fall semester, those students who are on a fall semester payment plan. So these dates will, of course, change for next year, and there's a set of dates for the spring semester. As you can see here, if a student enrolled in a payment plan by June 23rd, their down payment was the smallest of all of these other priority registration deadlines. So it was only 10% down, and that student could make up to 5 monthly payments beginning in July and going through November. If you decided that you wanted a payment plan in September, right before that, or actually that would have been after the semester payment, the payment was due, you're paying 50% down of what it is that you want to put in a payment plan, and you're only making 2 payments. That doesn't really make sense. So think about those payment plans and when those deadlines are each year prior to the semester if you'd like to use one. Finally, I do want to spend just a few minutes here because this is technically considered a source of financial assistance, and that is what we call the Parent Plus loan. This can be used to cover the cost of attendance after financial aid is already applied if a student has a FAFSA on file. Remember, back at the beginning of the presentation, we talked about cost of attendance. That includes what you're being charged by Holy Cross, but also indirect costs. So some families will use a Parent Plus loan to cover cost of attendance, and that student might receive perhaps a refund each semester to assist in books, supplies, other personal education related expenses. The parent will submit the application for the Parent Plus loan. The parent will use his or her FSA ID and password to submit that application, and the Department of Education will complete a credit check and will then inform Holy Cross College if you've been approved for a Parent Plus loan. On the application itself, the parent can indicate an amount that you would like in a Parent Plus loan, or you could simply indicate that you are interested in your maximum eligibility, and we at the Financial Aid Office will calculate your maximum eligibility and request that amount of funds for you. When you're thinking, if you think about a Parent Plus loan, do keep in mind that you're often applying for the loan for the entire year, so that half of it would be disbursed for the fall semester, half of it would be disbursed for the spring semester. It's called a parent loan because the loan is ultimately in the parent's name and it would be the parent's responsibility for repayment. It is an unsubsidized loan. It's not a need-based loan, so it will accrue interest immediately. However, families can choose to defer payment on the Parent Plus loan, meaning you could take out a payment or a Parent Plus loan, but defer payment until your student graduates, and then you'll begin making payments. I didn't mention this helpful tip, both for Parent Plus loans and for our students who have unsubsidized loans. It is accruing interest as you are a student. And then that interest will roll over into the principal, and then you're going to accrue interest on top of interest next year. And it's very easy for you to just accept these loans and then wait until you're a senior to see what your total debt is and then begin making those payments. There are some students who are on top of their loan responsibility each year. And one of the smartest moves a student can make is at the end of the first academic year, looking at what interest has accrued on an unsubsidized loan and pay off that minimum, maybe pay off that amount at a minimum so that it's not rolling into the principal. That is a great tip, a piece of advice, so that you're not rolling that interest year after year. And a Parent Plus loan can be handled the same way. What's that maximum eligibility for a Parent Plus loan? Again, that's that cost of attendance. That would be direct costs and indirect costs, minus any financial aid you've already been offered from Holy Cross College, and that is your loan maximum eligibility. Do also keep in mind, just like those student direct loans, there is an origination fee that is removed from the Parent Plus loan by the Department of Education before those funds come to us at Holy Cross College. Finally, a lot of places where you can get help, a lot of faces from which you can get help. The websites are here for the Office of Financial Aid and the studentaid.gov website. Here on our website, you will be able to download the current year's version of the personal planner and financial aid packet that will be updated before we are releasing financial aid notifications for next year. Also, if students are currently on campus, they can schedule an in-person appointment through our calendar, but then there's also going to be a place for you if you wanted to schedule a one-on-one phone call with somebody from the Office of Financial Aid. So there's a calendar there. And then if you wanted to look over the application form for that change in circumstances, that is going to be there as well. And this is it. We've made it to the end, and it is 9 o'clock exactly. I did see a question come in. I'm going to answer it very quickly. It was a question for transfer students. Yes, transfer students are eligible for merit programs at Holy Cross College, and they are eligible for need-based programs at Holy Cross College. Transfer students could receive our standard or traditional merit scholarships. Only the signature scholarships, those are only for first-year students entering Holy Cross, but otherwise transfer students are receiving those other sources of assistance as well. So if you stuck around to the very end, thank you. And I hope that you have learned something that you can use, whether it is that you apply to Holy Cross College, or hopefully some of this information is helpful for you as you compare your financial aid notifications and complete the process for other schools as well. But do know that we here at Holy Cross College want to help you find ways to make attending Holy Cross College affordable, and that if you call us and want to speak to somebody, you will speak to somebody. And if you email me, I'll email you back. I want to make sure that you understand all of your options if you are deciding to enroll at Holy Cross College. So that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation, but you will receive an email in about a few hours after with a link to all of our previous Holy Cross Live episodes if you want to go back and meet some of our students and faculty members if you weren't able to join us at some previous HC Live episodes. But if you simply reply back to that email with questions after this presentation, those will be forwarded to me and I'll take an answer. I'll take a look at them and get an answer to you. So thank you, good night, and God bless.